Two guys either side of 50 with one dream to achieve middle-aged sporting glory. This is the Missing Links Golf Show. Pilgrims, it is episode 34 of the Missing Links Golf Show. I'm Steve Hinks. I am joined at the microphone by Andy Walker. Andy Walker, welcome to the Missing Links Golf Show for the 34th time.
Thank you, Mr. Hinks. Great to be here. Although it's been a bit of a frustrating week, I have to say. Yeah, looking forward to better weeks ahead.
A frustrating week. That sounds rather ominous.
Yes.
Is this where we're going to start the show, or are we having any kind of a preamble before we get into the frustrations of the week?
Well, I think we covered my injury last week, and while there has been some improvement, I still haven't been able to pick up a golf club and have a game of golf.
Ooh.
Which has been incredibly frustrating because after the month of, really April and May, where I had a couple of really great months and I was pretty excited as to where things were heading, it's all seemed to have fallen off a cliff.
Wow. Well, I guess we've gone there, so let's go there properly.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling like an old bloke at the moment, you know.
Well, there is a very good reason for that.
I injure myself, and as a 20-year-old or even 30s, you recover pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Back into it. You don't let these things worry you. Here I am, 2 weeks later, and I'm still not able to actually hit a golf ball.
No.
And I've got the Carn Open Seniors in a couple of weeks, so I'm really keen to do well in that.
Yeah.
So yeah, just a very, very frustrating couple of weeks. So yeah, but I mean, look, I'm getting treatment on it. So I'm still sort of seeing my remedial massage therapist. Actually got an appointment tomorrow. Still seeing my chiro. But because it's they're saying either soft tissue or cartilage in sort of the lower part of my
I don't like the sound of cartilage.
No, in my lower right ribs. They're saying that that I need a few weeks to get past that to be able to get back to full strength, and again they're just saying just take it easy, because if you redo it, it's potentially going to be longer. So I've had to be very, very careful with what I do.
Would you classify it as a side strain? Is that kind of what you've done, or is it not?
Yeah,
so much
look, it's certainly in my side. So it's sort of started in the lower right lat, and then sort of gone in through sort of the ligaments and cartilage in my ribs on my right side. And I think a lot of it is because I've been making these swing changes, and what I've been trying to do is to have more rotation through my upper body and have that driving my swing rather than being focused on my arms. I feel as though that's probably contributed to it a little bit, because that's not a move that I'm overly familiar with, even though it's sort of getting a lot better.
It takes me back to a previous episode. I can't remember exactly which one, where you may have reported in on a conversation that you had with friend of the show and former guest, Scotty Fisher, who had remarked to you something along the lines of chasing a full shoulder turn at your age might not be the best idea. Andy Walker, is this ringing any bells for you?
I don't remember.
I feel like he may have foreshadowed this injury by saying that perhaps some of your ambitions with your swing might have been beyond the physical capability of a man of your age.
No.
Scotty, if you're out there, you told him so.
Yeah, look, maybe I don't know. whether this would have happened anyway is questionable. I don't know. It's whether it's this or something else. I think it's again just age catching up with me. So I think it's going to
Yep.
happen at different points. But look,
Yep.
it's given me a little bit of an opportunity to do a bit of short game of putting. I have been in the high performance center on the putting mat. Doing some
Mm.
putting, which interestingly, I on Monday afternoon, I went out and did a bit of short game and putting, and I could really feel a difference when I got on the green and I did some sort of 3 to 6 foot putts, sort of just in a circle around a hole, and I actually felt really good. My stroke felt really good, which is a bit of a bonus. The other thing that's actually been really good in helping my recovery, something very unexpected, is the stack.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Now
Yeah.
you wouldn't have thought that a swing speed device would be useful in recovering from injury, and I haven't used it in the way that the stack has been designed.
Mm.
But what I've actually been doing, because you've got different weights with the stack, and obviously you're not actually hitting a golf ball with the stack. I've actually, I started off with the 70-gram weight, then I moved to the 100-gram weight. Now I've moved to 145 grams. I've actually been slowly loading up the stack and swinging, quite,
Mm.
at not at full speed, but at
Mm. Mm.
probably
Mm.
somewhere between 50 to 75%, just to build up a little bit of strength in order to recover a little bit faster, which interestingly came from my massage therapist. Because she works in a physio clinic, so she knows a little bit about physiotherapy, and that was her advice. She said, "Hey, you know, just start off slowly and maybe try and build up a little bit." I mean, she was more talking about, using a golf club. But then I had this idea, oh, why don't I use the stack to do it? So I tested it out and it was really good. So yeah,
That's interesting.
the stack is a
As a
recovery
recovery
tool.
tool.
Yeah.
Have you got one of those the like the orange whip, the heavy ball on the flexible
No,
shaft?
no, no. I've seen them, but no, I've never actually used one.
Yeah, I do have one. I don't use it often, but it is actually really good for, obviously you swing it quite slowly because it's very whippy and heavy. And the idea obviously is improving tempo, but it's a good warm-up tool because it helps you stretch a little bit. It's heavier than a golf club. So
Yeah, right.
I wonder if something like that would do something similar.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'd be a little bit concerned probably about the weight of it.
It is quite
Um,
heavy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and with the weight, would that potentially re-injure that
You'd
my
have to be
right
careful.
side? Yeah. Whereas
You
at
would have to
least
be
what, like
careful.
with the stack, I can actually change the weight. And so I've started to increase the weight and get it closer to what a golf club would be. So yeah, it's actually been really useful. I've been pretty impressed with how useful it's been in recovery. I have tried to hit a couple of balls with a 7 iron in the high performance center, and yeah, started to feel a little bit sort of sore after hitting a couple of balls. So I sort of shelved that idea pretty quickly, and I've just focused on increasing the weight in the stack.
Very good. So any sort of prognosis on recovery times on this? Like how far away are you from Carnarvon?
It's so Carnarvon's the 24th of June. So I mean, we'll obviously release this next week, but here is we are sort of
It's just under
recording.
two
It's
weeks.
just under 2 weeks till the 24th present time. So I'm hopeful. Maybe this weekend I might be able to hit a few shots. I am booked into the comp at my home club next Tuesday.
Mm.
We'll see how that goes. I would really like to get a comp round in before Carnarvon, but yeah,
Would
I'm going to be
you
driven a lot by my recovery.
would you consider a pain killing needle to get through the Carnarvon seniors anymore?
Um, no.
Okay.
Um,
Does run the
yeah,
risk of further damage. That is
yeah.
true.
And look, when I played at Castle Hill a couple of weeks ago, because I did in Camden, I felt it a little bit, and then I went out and played in at Castle Hill, and it was really sore. Like it certainly at the last two or three holes,
Mm.
it was really impacting my swing, and I'd probably prefer to go through what I went through at Castle Hill rather than getting a needle at this point in time. I think I'd be able to deal with it a lot better without actually going down the line of getting a needle.
Well, I think Pilgrims watch this space on
Mm.
Andy Walker's recovery. Yeah, we're now a week and a half into the month of June. Time is ticking.
It is.
Pressure's on. So,
Well, I do know that I am going to get a round of golf in. Of course, I will play at Carnarvon. What state I'll be in is very questionable, but I will play.
oh wow. Well, that's good because so
Um,
that will avoid the 1 point penalty in the yearly
correct,
championship, which
correct.
nobody wants to have that on their
No,
record during this
no, no,
during this
definitely
show.
not, definitely not. But I feel as though I'm behind the eight ball, which I'm sure we'll get to
So
at
are you
at
trying
some
to
point in the
drum up a
show.
bit of underdog status? Is that where you're
Absolutely,
going with this? So
100%. Yeah, yeah,
you
for
kind of
sure,
trying to go, oh,
for
I'm really
sure.
up against it. Here's my hard luck story. Next thing you know, you'll be on Australian Idol with your sob story, trying to get the vote of the fans.
Oh, look, I actually think in the yearly championship, I'm the underdog at this stage with this injury.
Turn it up. You
No,
won 5 months on the bounce or something.
you
Oh
know,
dear.
I'll
You
I'll
get a,
I'll take what I can get.
you have to beat your handicap by one shot to get a 50% differential. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
really up against it.
yeah, yeah. Underdog, as I say.
Yeah. Okay. Look, don't let the truth get in the way of a good story. Andy Walker, I think he's the saying. But Pilgrims, there is a bit to get through
There is.
tonight. We've got a fairly big agenda. That was agenda item number one, which was the update on Andy Walker's injury. So I think we're good to hear that things are not terrible, but obviously they could be better. But
Mm.
at least there's a bit of a light at the end of the tunnel. Other things, Andy Walker, that we have on the list tonight is I need to take you through my recent competition round from Saturday just gone. We'll
Yes.
do that in just a moment. And then, I think there were a few really interesting lessons learned out of that experience and out of the last few rounds, which kind of got me thinking this morning about whether or not it's time to share some observations, lessons, tips, things that we think could help the pilgrims in their own journey. So I think that might be something that we get into for the second half of the show. A bit of tips and tricks and all those sort of things. I don't want to give away the title of what that might be because it kind of gives away the result of the round that I'm about to tell you about. But we'll get to that in due course.
Is
How
is
do you
it
feel
is
about
it
that?
is it breaking 70? Is that what what we're talking about?
It's not.
Ah, okay.
That'd be amazing. Anyway, we're not quite there yet. When was the last time you broke 70, Andy Walker?
A long, long time ago.
Yeah, okay.
Are we talking for 9 or 18?
We're talking for 18. Yeah, we're
Okay.
definitely talking for 18. Pretty
Yeah,
sure we've both broken 70 for nine. I definitely hope so.
yeah, nah, very, very long time ago. Obviously, that 200 round was 70, so
On a
I
72, yeah.
I almost did it a couple of months back. So yeah, that's really my next. Well, it's not really a
Yeah.
glass ceiling; it's a glass floor that
Yeah.
I've got to punch down through. So that's the new goal over the next couple of months. If I can break 70, that'd be a great effort. I'd be pretty happy with that.
It would be. That would be absolutely a red letter day for the Missing Links Golf Show. And I think it's not a question of if, it's a question of when. It
Mm.
could even be in 2 weeks' time at Carnarvon, which would be remarkable and would probably
Well,
see you going on to the New South Wales Senior Open.
I hope so. I hope so. I
if
mean,
you should pull
that
that off.
that'd be awesome. But I've actually got to play around of golf before then. I think to see where I'm
Well,
at.
you don't have to.
Well, I
Don't
don't have
rule.
to, but it would be helpful
Be nice.
if I could get a bit of practice in a comp round before then.
Definitely be useful.
Mm.
Yeah, but not essential.
Mm.
Anyway,
So, what about
um,
yourself, Mr. Hinks? Let's delve into your
mm,
weekend round because it sounds
mm.
very intriguing,
Oh, it is
which will obviously lead on to a wider conversation.
definitely intriguing. It's the word I'd use. Um, so to set the scene, Pilgrims, Saturday, club competition, individual Stableford at my home club. It's nice to be back on the home track. And yeah, I have a 12:03 tea time, so it was definitely civilized. Um,
So it
so
wasn't a morning round at Orange.
it wasn't a morning round in Orange, no. So that was it was nice. This oh, look, it was a little bit fresh to begin with, but it turned into an absolutely magic afternoon. It was a beautiful afternoon. But
Nice.
before I get too far into things, Andy Walker, this may surprise you to hear that I did manage to take a short recording um,
Ah,
as I
nice.
arrived at the
Yep.
course. And I think there's no better way than to understand how I was feeling about things prior to the round than to actually throw to me prior to the round to talk about how I was feeling about things prior to the round.
All right. Well, let's hear from you.
Let's go to me. All right, Pilgrims, here we go. We'll cue that up. All right, Pilgrims, here we go. It is Saturday, nearing lunchtime. I've just got to the course. I'm excited. It's a bit warmer today than last round, although I would not by any stretch of the imagination call it warm because it still is winter in the central west, but at least the temperature is in the positives and above freezing. So that's a good sign. And hopefully it's going to warm up a bit as the day goes on. But I'm pumped. I've been feeling good in the high performance center this week. I'm excited today because I am playing Pilgrims. I am playing the brand new Pro V1 golf balls today that have arrived. Can't wait to see how they go out on the course, and I've got high hopes. And I'm also excited because I've got my young guy with me today, young Mr. Hinks, who is caddying today. So that's a bit exciting. It's always fun with a bit of company out there on the course. So I'm going to go do a bit of a warm up, have a bit of a putt, and we'll see how we go. Can't wait. Let's do this, Pilgrims. Let's do this. Thoughts, Andy Walker?
If you didn't play well, having now used the Pro V1s and got a caddy,
Mm,
I mean, it's going to be a massive letdown.
mm. Pressure,
It is a huge amount of pressure.
pressure. I do want to just focus on the Pro V1s for a moment before I get into how the round went. So
How good
what
are
was
they?
what was particularly exciting is that I jumped on to one of our magnificent online retailers here in Australia, and not only can you buy just a box of Pro V1s, but you can also pick what number you want,
Mm,
any
yeah,
two-digit number. So
of
in the
which
spirit
you
in the spirit of the show, about us attacking the seniors tour, I picked my birth year being 75.
nice.
And I thought pretty good indicator out on the course. There probably won't be too many Pro V1 75s floating around out on the course. The thought
You know
occurred to
what it
me,
also does? It gives you a number. It gives you a number to shoot at.
absolutely, that is not lost on me at all, Andy Walker, at all, because that is, of course, one of the goals that I'm hanging on to at the moment. But the thought also occurred to me as I was standing on the first tee, and you kind of tell your playing partners what ball you're playing for the day so that everyone's aware and there's no skullduggery going on. But the thought occurred to me: should I get at any point during this round the need to hit a provisional? This is going to be awkward because all I've got 75s.
Yeah, that might be an issue. Yeah.
But I did have a workaround because I had a Sharpie in my bag. So I thought if that is the case, I would put an X on one of them
Yeah,
or a
right.
P or a whatever on one of
Mm.
them to go, this is the provisional. So there's a workaround. It's absolutely fine. Happy to say no
Didn't
provisionals were,
didn't need a
were required
provisional.
during the
Cool.
round. So that's completely fine. So anyway, let's get into it. How did things go? So I won't go through hole by hole. I think what we'll do is just sort of highlight a few things, and then there's a few bits that I probably want to come back and highlight. But I do want to probably mention the first hole. So the first hole was pretty good. There was a couple of pilgrims down at the golf club, some of whom had seen some of our recent posts on social media
Ah,
about some
right.
of my respective swing changes.
Yep.
And there was a mini gallery that gathered on the
Ooh,
first tee that
wow.
wanted to see the new swing in action.
And how'd that
Um,
go? Did you like rip it down the middle?
it added a degree of pressure to the situation. I will not lie. But because I'm mentally strong now, because of
Of
all of the
course.
work that we've been doing, and I know that as an extroverted mental golf type, I'm actually more prone to take on the feelings of those around me. But then I realized that that is all they are. That doesn't create any truth, and we can let that go, and we
Mm,
can focus back on the process, and we can step up. And Andy Walker absolutely piped one straight up the guts on
nice.
the first.
Nice.
So that was good. Par five's the first. Hit a good hybrid up to about 30 or 40 meters short of the green. Sand wedge on to the center of the green, and hit a really good first putt, which left me with about a 2-inch tap in for par on the first. So
Nice.
that was nice.
Easy, easy five.
Easy five. Nice way to start. Settle the nerves, and then proceeded to block a drive on two into the trees, which meant that I had to punch out, and I dropped a shot. So I was one over after two. Part a few. I made a disappointing, unfortunate, choose your adjective bogey on six.
Mm.
Had hit a reasonable drive, but it was blocked out. There's just sort of just a tiny little bit of a dog leg to the right on six. Was blocked out by the tree, so I had to punch a low 8 iron, which I hit what I thought was a good shot, but what I didn't realise, Andy Walker, there was casual water in front of the green,
Ah,
um,
right. Yep.
so it just pulled up, which is disappointing. Couldn't
So
make the
so
up and
what
down.
one over through six?
Two over now through six.
Two
Bogey
over through
two,
six. Oh,
bogey
bogey two. Yep.
two,
Yep.
bogey six. Seventh is par five. I hit a drive right out of the middle of the club. Did not see the ball at all because we were
Oh,
hitting towards the sun, and all the
yep.
clouds that were up there were just glowing beautifully. Pro V1 matched the color of the clouds immaculately.
Nice.
So this was interesting. I think some of the club face awareness work that I've been doing paid dividends here, because I thought off the club face that feels a little bit left,
Yeah, right.
and it was. So I found it.
Right.
So that was
I,
good.
I thought you were going to tell me it was in the right rough.
That'd be gold. No, it was where I thought it was, which is good. But even better than that, whilst it was in the left trees, in those trees, there is a particular channel that you can find yourself in if you're fortunate. And I was in that channel. So I actually had a clear shot back to the fairway, and once again managed to hit a hybrid to, I know this because I checked, was 55 meters short of the green, short of the pin. Uh, Sand wedge to 2 inches,
Ooh,
very nearly
nice.
sucked it in for eagle,
Nice.
but it just finished next to the hole. So tap in birdie, Andy Walker, which is always nice. So back to one over
One over. Yep.
after seven. Um,
Would have been
par,
feeling good after seven.
I was feeling
Well,
pretty
one
good.
over.
I
Yeah.
was feeling pretty good. And the young man caddying me at that point was checking in on the score, going, "Oh, you won over. You won over. Reckon you can get to even after nine. If you birdie the next one, you're a chance." And I said, "That's a good plan." So par three, eighth, playing 170 odd meters.
Mm.
Hit my
It's a
six
tough
iron.
hole.
It is
Like
a
eight,
tough
eight
hole. It's not
eight's
an easy
tough.
green. It's not an easy green to hit,
No.
Pilgrims. It's fairly narrow green. There's bunker left, bunker right. It was a center pin sort of between the two bunkers. I missed the green to the left, but fortunately missed the bunker as well. And the pin was sort of on the right of the center of the green. Um, One of my playing partners also missed in a similar spot. He was just slightly further, chipped first. He chipped over first bunker, over the green, into the second bunker on the far side.
Not necessarily the you know, shot picture that you want in your head when you're just about to stand up and hit your own shot.
Wasn't ideal. um, because we just had the conversation as well that there was a bit of a backstop beyond the pin
Yep.
as the shoulder of that bunker rises up, which I think he probably played a little bit too aggressively because it bounced right on the very top and went straight into the sand.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Um, so I thought maybe I won't do that. So I pitched over the bunker and Andy Walker, a bit of a hop check straight in the hole. Birdie.
Nice. Birdie,
Mm,
birdie.
mm.
I like it. So back to
Even,
square.
even after eight,
So so the young Hinks, he's picked it.
he's picked it.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. At this point, the conversation from him turned to, "Hey, Dad, you ever been under par for nine? Can you peel off three in a row?"
Nice. I like it.
Um, so he's got an aggressive mindset when it comes to scoring. So anyway, the ninth, as you know, bit of dog leg to the left, um, which you can on any like on a good day if the wind is in the right direction, you can fly that corner a little bit. So I took what you might describe as an aggressive line over the
Mm,
corner,
yep.
but pumped it because, of course, the new driver swing technique with a little bit of body tilt um,
Yep.
was actually hitting the ball quite well as a
How
result.
are you finding distances with the Pro V1 versus the
It,
TP5X?
it was pretty similar, to be honest, but I think felt so much better off the
Yep.
club. And it definitely was better around the greens. A lot more control around the greens,
Mm.
a lot more bite on
Yep.
approaches and chips.
Mm.
Nicer to putt with. So all around, which we'll get to later, but 100% on board with Pro V1, no doubt about it. Anyway, so I took an aggressive line, but I did clear the trees. I got over the corner, which was good. The other three guys in the group all had said that there's no chance that was getting over when they saw the tee shot, and it did. So there you go. Thanks for your faith, gentlemen.
So you were
Uh,
pretty happy then when you got up there and you were like, hey guys, look,
yeah, there it is.
that's
There it
mine.
is. Edge of the fairway. That's it. Yeah, got it. See, the only way it can get there is if it gets over the trees. Um, so I hit a gap wedge to the green, which look, it's funny. It's always a bit of an uphill approach, so it always places that a little bit longer than you think, which it did. So I was sort of on the front half of the green to a very back pin.
Mm.
Um, I
It's
reckon
not an easy
about
putt as well. Like
no, there's
that's
a fair bit of break in that green.
and I remember the in the Macquarie Cup, that was actually, even though it's uphill, it's actually a fast putt.
Yeah, there's a lot going on, and I reckon I was probably 40 to 50 feet.
Yeah.
Um, so not an easy two putt, which I proceeded to prove by three stabbing a bogey
Right. Yeah.
to finish the nine at one over.
How
But
how
never
did
the,
the caddy react to the bogey rather than being under par?
you know, he's a legend. Okay, I've I'm so proud of the guy because at that point he was like one over's good. Like that's a good nine. Well done. And yeah, don't worry about that putt. One over's good.
Nice.
Like
And
that's
he's right.
quality.
Like what one over is a really good start for nine.
Look, it absolutely was, and it's one of those things where I look at that and I go, no, I don't feel like I necessarily hit bad putts. The first like to two putt from there, I'm probably going to two putt 50% of the time, maybe at that distance.
Yep.
So three putts, it's not the end of the world. And one over,
Mm.
yeah, it was an excellent front nine. Like I was playing off eight for the day, so one over for nine was good. So we,
So
yeah, so
21 points
20
Stableford,
point,
yeah.
it was 20 points because the split, the back nine's rated much harder than the front nine.
Ah, right. Okay.
So
So
I
three
got
shots.
three and
Yeah, right.
five was
Okay.
the
Yep.
split.
Yep.
So yeah, it was two shots better than handicap for that night. But look, that's a good start. Happy with that. Move to the back nine. Disappointing bogey on 10. Drive that just got again blocked out by the trees on the left. Bit of a dog leg. Very nearly a par, but breaking putt just didn't drop. Then I went, what did I go? Par, and then 13, long par four, hit a good drive, hit a 7-iron onto the green, had a very tricky, heavily braking left to righter, which gave it a good run and burned the edge, but ran about 7 feet past. And sort of pushed the comebacker and unfortunately
Mhm.
3-putt bogey
Right.
again.
So 3 over through 13. Am I counting that correctly?
Yep, yep, you are. You are.
Okay. So 5 holes to play, you're 3 over.
Yeah, feeling pretty good about life.
So your ball number, you're on
It is
track
in
to,
play at this
yeah,
point. It is in play.
it's definitely in play.
Had that
Okay.
thought. And then I stepped up on the 14th tee.
It's a tough tee
Um,
shot, 14.
so 12 and 14 on this course are either side of the lake.
Mm.
Negotiated 12 quite nicely. 14 stepped up, lake down the right. Pilgrims, remember I'm left-handed. I went, all right, here's my spot on the fairway. I'm going to aim at fairway, smoke one down there, and snap hooked it, Andy Walker, um, really nicely into the lake.
That's not good.
It's not ideal,
No. That
but that,
was that was me first round of the Macquarie Cup. Except for, for me being a right-hander, not
yeah, wasn't a
being
snap hook.
wasn't a snap hook. It was a push cut into the lake. So
It's
yeah,
easy to do.
that's not a good result.
No, the thing is though, there's no point on that hole trying to bail out left because
No, you can't.
those
I
trees on the left, there is no
Yeah,
joy there. You have to
no,
step up and just hit the fairway. You just have
yeah.
to. I didn't. So anyway, not the end of the world. Go up there, drop one. So I dropped one, and I was about what was I? I was 100 and nearly 160 to the pin, but I think it was 158 to the pin where I took the drop. 175 to the back of the green, and so I pulled, and this is meters, Pilgrim. So what does that equate to? That makes it about 193 or 194 yards to the back of the green.
Yeah, I
About,
think 178 meters is, yeah, it'd be 190 something yards.
yeah. So I thought 6 iron probably shouldn't go long. Um, and I didn't want to be short because it's quite steep uphill to the green. Anyway, I had been flushing my irons actually all round for me. Um, and a hit just smoked a 6 iron over the back of the green. Andy Walker,
That's not ideal
which is disappointing. So
because
sort of,
that's a tough up and down from
yeah,
over the
because it's
back of the
down, it's
green.
pretty steeply downhill. It's pretty nice. So I was only about 2 meters over the back edge of the green. So I took the odd Texas wedge and tried to run it down there, but I probably left myself about 15 feet downhill for my bogey putt, which
Mm,
unfortunately didn't drop. So that was a double Andy Walker. So we've gone to 5 over,
that's tough.
which was a shame.
Mm.
Par 15 was good up and down, par three, and then 16 made bogey, par five, so
Because
supposedly easiest
easiest
hole on
hole
the
in the course.
course,
Yeah.
which I just don't think it is. Like hit a drive, which was just in the left trees. I punched one out, so I was about 150 out. Hit a 7 iron that just missed the green to the left, but it was the right side to miss. Pin was on the right, but just couldn't get up and down. So I made bogey. It was a bit sloppy. It was kind of not the result of one bad shot, but it was three sort of average shots.
Mm.
And then 17 was fun. So 17 long par four. It's straight but long.
So 6 over at this point in time.
At that point, 6 over. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, so look, and I was thinking if I par in from here, it's a really, really good round of golf.
Yeah.
If I bogey in from here, I still break 80.
Yeah. Right. Yep. Yep. Yeah. So past 71, isn't it?
Yep.
Yep.
So that was all of those things floated into the mind, to which I said, it's outcome thinking. Let's let
Yeah.
that go.
Yep.
Let's get back to the process. Hit a pretty good drive, but I don't know if you remember, there is an overhanging branch on one of the big trees on the left-hand side of the fairway that kind of encroaches towards the fairway. Bit
Yep.
of a landing area down there. So anyway, drive clipped that, dropped, was on the fairway, but I was still 205 out from the flag. So what's that? 220,
Yeah. 220 ish.
225 ish, something like that. To the
I
flag.
just had the length conversion to convert the 178. The 178, by the way, is 194
Yeah, right.
yards.
Yep. So that was a 6 iron. So this, I think 205 would be two, close to 230. It'll be 225.5 or
Well,
something like that.
how about I put in 205 meters, not 205 yards?
That would help.
224.
224. Yes, about 225. So five wood, pulled five wood,
Yep.
stuck it on the center of the green, Andy Walker.
Nice. Nice.
That was probably my shot of the round.
Yep.
Safe two putt, go to the last six over in pretty good shape. Long par three up the hill with a bit of a devious green that is heavily breaking left to right. Anyway,
Do you feel
smoked
as
a
though
six.
you've got some demons on that hole, given the
Oh,
Macquarie Cup
mate, don't
experience?
I though? Don't I? Anyway, hit a really good six iron, which I thought had comfortably got on, but we got up there and it was on the front fringe. So it had
Mm.
actually hit, you know how there's that little uphill
Yep.
into the
Yep.
green, and it
And
had
just stop
probably
dead.
hit that and
Mm.
just stopped. Pin was sort of in the center. So I hit a putter. And look, to be honest, I left it probably about where that putt was on day two of the Macquarie Cup. So it's
Yep.
probably about say 8 or 9 footer
Yep.
curling left to right. Makeable uphill, but fair bit of break on it. And I hit the same putt and I missed it. So
Mm.
that was kind of a from the fringe three putt bogey, which was a somewhat disappointing finish, but it was
I
still
mean, what's that? 78?
78 off the stick. It was 37 points. Stableford playing off a handicap of 8 for the day.
Nice. Nice.
Um, so I'm really, really happy with that round of golf. Like that is some of the best ball striking that I have put together
So
pretty much ever.
broken 80, 37 points. You would have that would have been a flag round and lowered your handicap a little bit.
Yes, it was a flag round, and that's dropped me to 8.0
Ooh.
on the nose. So what I also didn't realize is that last putt was for 7.9.
Oh, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Still, I mean, 8.0, that's well, you were 8.4, so you've
Yeah,
dropped
drop point 4.
zero point 0.4. Okay. So, onwards and upwards, you're heading in the right direction. I mean, that's a good round of golf. And I'd have to say, one over around the front nine, that's got to give you some confidence to
Oh, massively,
move forward and go, you know what? Yeah, I mean,
massively.
six over around the back is probably not ideal. It is the harder nine of the
Definitely the
two.
harder nine. And look, in fairness, Andy Walker, there were at least four putts, and I'm not exaggerating on this. There were at least four putts that were from a decent distance that finished within 2 inches, and
Mm.
just none of them dropped.
Yeah, yeah.
Like honestly, nothing dropped.
Including a wedge from 55 meters
Yeah, yeah,
on the seventh.
yeah. I mean, one wedge did go in, so that was helpful. I can't ignore that. But it was one of those days where I actually felt like, and I'll break down the strokes gain result in a minute. I felt like I putted really well,
Yep.
but they just didn't go in.
Yep.
Um, so one, and there were a couple of three putts in there, which was disappointing. But generally speaking, the three putts were the result of at least, which I'm sort of more happy about. They were the result of having a run at the first one and being a bit aggressive, probably running it through a little bit too far,
Mm. Mm.
and then not making the return. But rather than being tentative and three putting because you're just stabbing one halfway there, I at least wasn't doing that. So
Mm.
it was a good round.
Although I think, in hearing that, maybe working on speed from that distance might be
Speed's
something
definitely
that
the issue.
you
It's
yeah
always,
you,
yeah,
you you
it's
look at, because and I think I talked about it with Sasha a couple of weeks ago. Speed is one thing that I've really been working hard on, and potentially getting the Stack putting app for yourself, just to work on that speed, because what I found is working on speed has allowed me to make more longer putts.
mm.
Even though I'm not trying to make them, because I've got the right speed, I'm actually making more longer putts, which,
Well, you'll have way more chance.
yeah,
Absolutely.
100%,
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely. So, and I know that's the area. Like for me, I feel like my putting stroke is in pretty good shape.
Yep.
And it hasn't always been that way. Definitely, it's had its battles, but I've worked quite hard on that on the mat at home. So I feel like now I'm rolling the ball on the line that I want to roll it, and I'm rolling it true. I'm I need to work on speed. I need to work on green reading. They're probably the two areas with putting that I struggle with. But you can't do
Mm,
that inside on the putting
mm.
mat. You have to be outside on the
So,
green to do that.
so
That's
just
and that's the struggle.
an observation of the initial resistance to pulling out the putting mat and having that in the high performance center to, having a chat to Michael Leonard, now putting some time in on the putting mat. You feel as though the stroke's improved a fair bit, yeah?
I'm all about the putting mat.
Wow, there's not a 180 right there.
Call me Ernie Els. It's the flip and the flop.
And the flop, yeah,
I
yeah.
am 100% all about the
Yeah.
putting mat, Andy
Yeah.
Walker. It's one of my
Because
favorite
I've found
putting.
it really really helpful since I've put the putting mat into the high performance center. Yeah, really, really good. And I've just done it like, after, during this recovery phase, I've been, using the stack as the recovery. Then I spend, 10 or 15 minutes just, inside that 6 feet range and just, working on my stroke. And it's just all technical.
Mm.
And when I went out to, the practice putting green on Monday, it just felt so much better. So yeah, I'm loving the putting mat in the high performance center.
The other thing that I've invested in, Andy Walker, I don't know if I told you, but it's a putting mirror.
Oh, right. Okay. Because I haven't got a putting mirror, but I've been thinking about the Dave Pell's,
Yep.
um, I forget what it's called, but it's the putting tool of Dave Pell's, which again, Michael Leonard recommends that tool. Ah, I got the mats. Nice. I like it.
And some interesting reflections coming through on that as well.
Mm, mm.
Um, but yes, I picked that up. There's this really good golf equipment retailer online called Timu.
Specialist golf equipment manufacturer.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Outstanding. I think it costs
Yeah.
about $7.40.
Yeah. Right.
Um,
Okay.
but in fairness, it it's been really useful to see where the eye line is over putts
Yep.
because it's not necessarily been where I thought it was before
Yeah,
doing
right.
that.
Okay. In
Um,
what respect have you, because I know we were talking about you being
mm,
outside the line
mm,
of the ball, and we talked about dropping the ball to see where
mm.
your eye line actually is. Is that what you found in the putting mirror, that you've been
Let,
outside the line?
the way I'd probably describe it is wildly inconsistent.
Right. So
So
when you're standing over the putting mirror, could you actually see the reflection of your eyes in the mirror?
yeah, 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 yeah. But the point is
Because if you
sometimes
can't see your eyes, you
you got a problem.
you got a
where
massive issue.
where am I? Oh, mirror's upside down. I'm looking at the
Yeah.
black part.
Oh, yeah.
No, no, no,
Oops.
no, no. The point is like there's been times when it's been past the ball, times when it's been inside the ball, and to varying degrees. So I
Yeah, right.
feel
So
like it's
consistency,
been
yeah.
inconsistent setup, and I
Yeah.
think that that's actually partly about consistency of how far from the ball you've got your toes. So where the stance is, if you're reaching for it a little bit more or bending over a little bit more or something along those lines. So
Yeah.
I've actually found kind of drilling in the setup process to standing over a putt's been really useful.
Okay.
And that
Yep.
and it's just one of those things sort of for a pre-shot routine to make sure that you're doing those simple things because that puts you in obviously a much better position to be able to hit the putt true rather than making some mechanical issues that will prevent you
Mm.
from being able to hit it on the line that you want to, assuming that you pick the right line in the first place.
Yep.
So there's quite a bit there. But Andy Walker, do you want to hear the strokes gain breakdown from that round to
Yeah.
see where strokes were
Yep.
won and lost? Because
Yep.
this is a bit of an interesting story. You might know that my biggest challenges, sort of going back a month or a few months, really has been around the ball striking elements, particularly with irons, so approaches. And short game obviously has been a bit hit and miss. So anyway, the overall total against a scratch handicapper was minus 3.61 shots for the round, which is pretty
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Um, Driving. Now, bear in mind, I stuck one in the water, and then there
Yeah.
was two holes when I kind of had a bit of tree trouble.
Yep.
Another hole when I should have had tree trouble, but I had the channel. But otherwise, I actually felt like I hit the driver really well. Hit it very clean all day. But driving was minus 3.06.
Ooh, okay. Yep.
I might leap to putting. Putting was, and again, nothing really dropped. Felt like I putted pretty well. Nothing really dropped. So that resulted in minus 3.07.
Okay. So you must have done all right on approach and short game then.
Short game, bearing in mind I hit 1 to 2 inches and I chipped one in.
Yeah. Yep.
So these help. Was plus 0.56.
Okay. Yep.
It's not massive. I thought it would have been a little bit better than that. But
Mm.
anyway, apparently I was supposed to hit them that close on those holes. It wasn't a hard shot. Approaches, which I felt that I'd flushed my irons the best that I ever have, was plus 1.96 against a
Yeah.
Scotch
Wow.
handicapper.
Okay. Nice. Nice.
So the stats would support that feeling.
Mm. It's interesting that that the difference between your approach play and your driver. That's a pretty wide sort of variation between those two. I would have thought they would be, a little bit closer together if, all things being equal.
But they're not
Mm.
equal. All things are not equal. No, I mean, I'm not overly surprised by it, to be perfectly honest, because where have I been putting my time in recently? It's been hitting mid irons in the high performance center.
Yeah, right. Mm.
Has really been what I've
Mm.
been focusing on. I've done a little bit of work with the driver, but there's more to do. But really, it's been the bulk of my time's been hitting sort of 6, 7, 8 iron in the high performance center. And it's
Yeah,
been
right.
paying dividends. It's been absolutely paying dividends.
Mm, mm, mm. Yeah, interesting because I've made a pre-injury. I started to make a concerted effort just to hit maybe a dozen balls, whether it be the utility iron, my forward, or my driver, just at the end of because again I'm the same. I've been working majority with my short to mid iron to try and get these swing changes in place because it's obviously easier to make swing changes with a short to mid iron. But then I've been trying to put a little bit of time in at the end, as I said, sort of 10 to a dozen balls of hitting driver and fairway or utility iron. And I felt that was starting to pay dividends. So that might be something to consider if if you're confident, hitting those clubs in the high performance center just at the end of
Oh,
the
which
end of the
I,
practice
I
session.
am, I am, and I am trying to do a little bit more of that, and in particular, hitting a bit more driver in there. And that's where I did stumble across the spine tilt method. It definitely helped. Like my
Yeah.
ball flight with my driver was so much better,
Yep.
much higher flight. Because as you know, I've struggled with having a lower ball flight with driver, so that definitely made a difference, and it actually made it feel like it was a little bit easier to put a draw shape on the ball
Yeah.
um,
Right. Yep.
by doing that. Interestingly, the ones that I missed, like my bad drives or my drives that cost me shots at least, and they weren't even necessarily bad drives half the time. They're only just off the fairway, but impeded by trees. But they were all left. So they were just the ones that I kind of hung it out there a little bit, didn't close the club face through release probably quite enough
Yep.
to get the drawback. But definitely felt so much more confident with that swing
Mm,
change. So that was
mm.
good. But yeah, it just needs a little bit more time to groove in. But I'm actually extremely excited on where my ball striking is going with my
Yep.
irons. Like it is
Mm.
chalk and cheese, and it's made a huge difference. I
Yeah.
can't sort of stress that enough. How
Yeah.
much of a difference that's made.
Well,
It's
just
been
just that
awesome.
comparison, that you put up on socials. I mean, that in itself, and I was actually pretty shocked that of the comparison image. Your historical image was actually not really historical. It was only a few months back, just how far you've come
Yeah,
over the last few months, because it's chalk and cheese, and it will do, wonders for your ball striking.
it's made a massive difference, huge difference. I don't think I really mishit an iron shot
Yep.
um, throughout the round. There
Mm.
are a couple that maybe didn't just start it. They only starts a half a degree offline, it misses the green, right? Like that sort of thing. But in terms of distance, like I didn't really have any. There weren't any. I didn't thin any, didn't fat any. They all came off the club face really well.
Mm. Mm.
And because
It,
previously I'd been toe striking quite a lot,
yep.
and that I seem to have rectified that, which has been
Mm.
really about focusing on more than anything. It's been focusing on a connected and long takeaway, and then swinging from the inside um, out at the ball, and sort of leading that turn with the lower body rather than the arms. So trying to keep on playing a lot longer. But the drill that I've been doing, which I have found really useful, it's that horizontal to horizontal drill about
Yep.
taking the club back to horizontal, fully connected, with a nice deep takeaway, and then coming through to horizontal on the follow through and making sure that you get the release with the hands turning over, and just practicing that. That has made a massive difference. So not necessarily practicing full swings in the high performance center, but doing that drill has been actually
So,
really
so is
useful.
that getting some width on
Yes,
your
yes,
backswing? Is that the main
yes.
part of
It's
the
getting width on
backswing?
the
Yeah.
backswing, absolutely. And it's also getting full extension through the ball rather
Yep.
than, you know, trying to describe the feeling, but sometimes you can kind of dig at it a little bit and bend the elbows on the follow through rather than getting
Mm.
a nice and, fully extended follow through.
Yeah. Look, and
Huge, huge difference.
it's interesting because I recently finished listening to the audio book, Mark Brody, Every Shot Counts, and trying to learn a little bit more about strokes gained. And one of the things that he says, and one of the main aims of the book is to debunk the theory that the most important part of the game is putting,
Mm,
right? And certainly for a high handicap golfer, ball striking is where you will lose the vast majority of your shots. So that's where all of the, well, not all of the improvement, but a lot of the improvement in your game will come
mm.
from your ball striking. I mean, yeah, there's lower hanging fruit with your short game to sharpen up your short game and putting. And he doesn't say that short game and putting is not important, but the traditional theory that putting is the most important part of the game, yeah, he's puts a very good argument, a data-driven argument that that's actually not true.
Look, I think that's kind of supports all of the discussions that we've been having throughout the course of this show. And,
Mm,
bottom line, you can be amazing at sinking 6 to 12 footers. But if you're sinking 6 to 12 footers for double bogey because you can't get it to the green in regulation, you're never going to
100%.
post a good score.
100%. And that is exactly, you've hit the nail on the head. That's his perspective, is that you can lose a lot more shots, whether it be hitting out of bounds, whether it be hitting into hazards, whether it be, chunking shots or whatever. There's a lot more shots that you lose from the tee box to the green than what you're going to lose either on the green or around the green. Yeah, you can do, a few shots on and around the green, whether, three putting or whatever, but you at no stage on the green do you have a penalty plus distance.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
You just
I can't even think of a way that you possibly could, but
well,
um,
you're never going to lose your ball on the green.
no,
Well, I'm
you'd hope not, but
maybe, well, so someone potentially, if there's a hazard next to the green and you put it off the
you can
green
put it off.
into the
Yeah,
hazard.
yeah. A crow comes down and picks your ball up and takes it off.
Yeah, well, even that, like you place the ball
Yeah,
where it would have finished. But okay, I'm going to rephrase it. Highly, highly
highly unlikely.
unlikely
I
that you're
mean,
going to have stroke plus distance on the
yeah.
green.
Like if you three putt every green, what's that? 54 putts
Mm.
for the round. but
Yep.
you hit every green in regulation. So you were 36 shots tee to green. You're shooting a 92,
Yep.
I think. Yeah, you are 90. No, you're shooting 90. Actually, you're shooting 90, 36 and 54. Do your maths, Stephen.
Mm.
Um, Now that just isn't going to happen. All right, you're not going to three putt every green. So if you
Mm.
three putt half the greens, but you hit every green in regulation, then all of a sudden you're shooting an 81. It's not a
Yep.
bad round.
But
But the
I think you're also, hitting every green is a bit of a stretch of
no,
the
no, no, it is, but deliberately, because what I'm saying is losing that many shots, like you're never going to lose 18 shots against regulation from your putting. But
Mm.
people like routinely, week in, week out,
Yep.
lose 18 shots or more through their ball striking
Mm.
tee
Mm.
to green.
Yep.
Yet
Yep.
people still go, oh, work on your putting.
Yeah. Look, and I think and one of the points that Mark Brody makes is that with your short game and putting, it actually doesn't take as much time. There's pretty low-hanging fruit to improve your short game and putting. You can actually make relatively good gains in your short game and putting, whereas with stroke play and with your ball striking, it's actually a longer process. It usually involves some sort of coaching, and it's not something that, you can go and practice and make swing changes in order to improve your ball striking. And in a week or 2 weeks, it's going to be,
Sure,
grooved. It's going to be, that's more of a longer term commitment to be able to have some material gains in your ball striking, and that's what I guess I'm talking about. Is
sure,
is that if you put some a fair bit of time into your short game, within a month to 2 months, you're going to see some material gains. But that's not necessarily the case if you've got some decent swing floors, which most amateurs do.
I don't disagree with any of that. I would say that a couple of things, though. One is that I actually don't think it's as easy as people say to improve your putting in terms of materially improving your results. If you're already averaging, say, around about 32, 33 putts around, which a lot of golfers do, regardless of handicap level, um, bringing that down to 28, 29 putts around, that's actually pretty hard to do, because every week you still got to read the putts accurately. You got to get the speed right for the read that you've done. The grass is different, the speeds are different. All of those differences make it quite challenging to
Mm,
meaningfully bring your average number of putts
mm.
down per round. I actually think it's
Yeah.
harder than it gets given credit for.
Yeah, look, I certainly think that because I mean, Mark Brody more talks in strokes gained rather than number of putts per round, and I won't go into the extended sort of reasons as to
No, I
why
feel like
he.
we've done that on other episodes, but
Yeah. But in in the audiobook, he actually refers to look at table 1.4 and look at table 1.7. You can't actually do that in an audiobook.
yep,
So I'm actually keen to get the book and go through it again so I can look at the tables, because I'm quite a visual person, and looking at the tables just so I can fully understand what he's talking about. Conceptually, I understand it, and yeah, I've got a good summary understanding, but I'd really like to get into that nitty gritty. Being a pretty strong data driven person, I'm keen to get the book and delve further into it. So I've got a good understanding of it.
for sure. The other thing, though, so the other point that I was going to make on that is that it's not just about ball striking or short game. The other element, and this is an element where I really feel like I've benefited a lot from over the course of this show, and now having learned those lessons that I've learned, I look at a lot of other people that I have the opportunity to have a round of golf in, and I golf with, sorry, and I can see that they're making all of the same mistakes, and that's around mental approach, course management, decision making on
Yeah.
the golf course.
Definitely,
and setting
definitely.
yourself up for success. There's
Mm.
there, and to be honest, if you were going to pick low hanging fruit, that's where it is.
Yeah,
More so than
yeah.
short game, more so than ball
Mm.
striking. It's actually making some sensible decisions and
Yeah,
setting
yeah.
yourself up for a chance.
And I don't, I completely agree with that. I mean, we come back to, the first sort of book, in this pilgrimage that I read was The Four Foundations of Golf by John Sherman, and what he's got to say about course strategy. Taking driver as often as possible, obviously still being smart in where you hit driver, but taking it where practical is to get as close to the green as what you possibly can, and then aiming for the middle to the back of the green and having conservative targets that you're aiming at. That to me makes so much sense and has helped my
Yeah,
game immeasurably.
absolutely, it does. Another one actually that I've really resonated with. I don't know if you've had the chance to read any of their gear yet, but there's two books that I've read by Lynn Marriott and Pia Nielsen,
Mm.
which is
Yeah,
Be a
you
Player and Every Shot Must Have a Purpose.
yeah, you mentioned that. Yeah.
And they're the ones that talk about the think box, play box. The reason I raise this is because I've learned, like I've developed, I think, so much of a better pre-shot routine and the ability to focus on the present and focus on the process because of doing this.
Yep.
Is that when you're standing behind the ball, that's when you're making the decision about the shot you want to play. Um, and you commit to that, and then you step up to the ball and you hit the shot. Like one of the guys that was in our group on the weekend was an extreme example, but we were in a conversation, the four of us in the group, about certain things, talking about whatever. I can't even remember what it was. He's pulling his club out of the bag whilst talking in the conversation about something that was completely unrelated to golf. Okay. It
Yep.
was a very social conversation. He's playing in a competition, pulls his club out of the bag, still talking about all of this, has a couple of practice swings, still engaging in the conversation, takes his stance, addresses the ball, looks up at us, continues the conversation, looks down, hits the ball.
Yeah.
This may surprise you. It was a bad shot.
Doesn't really surprise me.
But I don't think it's that unusual. I think there's plenty
No.
of people out there that are
Mm.
hitting golf shots mindlessly because they are still engaged in the social aspect of the round. And that's fine. Like if you just want to go out and have a whack with your mates, it's absolutely fine. But if you're wanting to get better, um, and you're wanting to play the best golf that you possibly can, I think it's fair to say that that's not the best way of doing it.
No,
So,
no, no. And look, I think that I would hazard a guess that most of the pilgrims, listen to us because they are keen to improve their games rather than, yes, there is a social aspect to golf, and we obviously have a social aspect to golf, but we're also very focused on game improvement. So yeah, being present and focused, and yeah, have a chat in between shots, but once you get over your ball. And that's where Michael Leonard actually, the trigger that he uses, and he uses it with his glove, which
yeah,
I've
yeah,
started to use. So
yeah.
you put your Velcro on your glove, and that's your trigger to focus in on your shot. That's where all conversation stops, and you are there and you're present and you're focused in on what you're doing in that particular moment.
Yeah, I've kind of started using that as I because with a push buggy with my bag, I like to walk. I started using it as I move up. I stop the buggy, I flick the brake on.
Yep.
The flicking of the brake on the buggy is that trigger to go, all right, now I'm like, I've already been thinking about the shot beforehand, but like now I'm committing to the shot that I'm going to hit, pull the club, go and hit it.
So then on Saturday, when the young Mr. Hinks was caddying for you, how did you adapt your thinking if that's your trigger?
I still flick the brake on, even though
Yeah,
when he
right.
was pushing
Okay.
the bag. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, or at least make the motion to do it so that it's if he'd already done it, but it just becomes habit because you do it so
Yep.
often. But
Yeah. Yeah.
but that's essentially the process. So it's the same deal. Whatever it is, that's your thing. Um, it's you need something. I think Andy Walker, that takes us to the next point. We've kind of rambled our way towards it a little bit
Yeah, yeah.
out of this, but Pilgrims, we felt like we owe you something. We owe you some value. Um, for listening this far, 34 episodes in, and now what are we? Just over an hour into this episode. We feel like now's the time that we should give you some value. And that value really is about saying, what are the lessons that we've learned along the way? Because there have been many, and we've been very, very fortunate to have some incredible people that have come on and shared their knowledge for free. I'm sure you've all got good value listening to them, but we definitely have from having had those conversations and then in implementing some of those things. And so, what we want to talk about is what are some of the things that you can do that we, for a lens, will say, what are some of the things that you can do that will help you break 80? Because that's a goal that's meant a lot to me. There's probably a lot of you out there that means a lot too. I would caveat by saying that this probably still rings true, Andy Walker, if your goal is breaking 90,
Yeah,
or breaking 85,
yeah, for sure.
or even breaking par. I don't think these fundamentals really shift that much. It just depends where your skill level sits at the moment. Is that a fair statement? I think it's fair.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think as you and I'm very much a big proponent that and we go back to what Dr. Bob Rotella said about ball striking and the importance of ball striking as you're learning to play golf, and as you get better, then really working on your short game and putting and refining your short game and putting to become the best that you best golfer that you can. I'm very much a big proponent of that in that I think that short game and putting become more important the better you become. Whereas certainly
Totally.
from my perspective, if you're looking to whether it be break 100, break 90, break 80, ball striking and strategy and yeah, in strategy talking about sort of the mental game, that to me, that they're your big wins. They're your massive wins, which will, you know, push you, very or a lot closer to your goal than anything else.
Totally agree with all of that. So I have written a little bit of a list. Sorry, Andy Walker. I've written a little bit of a list about some of the lessons that I have learned, because some of the pilgrims may know that breaking 80 has definitely been a goal that I have been chasing for a while. Um, and I finally did it. When was it now, Andy Walker? It was about maybe 2 years ago.
Yep,
It took quite a while to do it again after that. Um, but I'm happy to say now, 2 out of my last 3 competition rounds, I've broken 80.
yep,
So I feel like I've now got to a point where it is more regular. I wouldn't say I do it all the time, but I'm comfortable in that space now when I didn't used to be. And and I do want to share some of the lessons, and I'm interested in your view on these, Andy Walker, as well, because you're obviously a player that breaks 80 far more often. But as we said, this I think is relevant for any whatever your barrier or your goal might be. Um, so the first thing under the bracket of mental approach, so I've split this into mental and physical. So we'll talk mental first, because I actually think there's probably a lot more in that people can do. And the first thing is, I think there's a subtle difference between having a motivational goal, such as breaking 80 or breaking 90 or breaking any particular barrier, versus creating it to be such a strong desire that it becomes a mental barrier. And I think I was guilty of this for quite a while,
yep.
that wanting to make it happen rather than letting it happen or allowing it to happen made
Well,
it
well, that
difficult when I was getting
well,
close.
that's the whole conversation we have with Josh Nichols, right? Is that you need to let go of control
To
in
gain
order to
control.
gain control.
Absolutely. So there's something in that. The next point, which is kind of a little bit linked to it, is around the self-perception piece, is thinking of yourself like a golfer who breaks 80. And that puts you in more of a comfort zone when you're staring down the barrel of the possibility,
Mm.
rather than thinking of yourself as someone that's never done it and really wants to. um, there's there's something in that as well. And again, I know I faced this when I was trying to get my handicap into single digits. That I had this epiphany during a round where I was trying to get a certain score because I knew that's what I needed for it to drop below the 10.0. And I remember thinking, actually, I need to stop wanting to be a single digit handicapper, because why do I want to be a single digit handicapper? I want to do that because I feel like that will make me seem like a better golfer.
Yep.
That's the wrong way around. Why don't
Mm.
I want to be a better golfer? And then probably I will become a single figure handicapper.
Mm.
It's
Yep.
like it's mental gymnastics, right? It's
Yeah,
semantics,
it is. Mm.
but it makes a big difference. And that shift, I stopped worrying about it and I started focusing on what am I doing with my process and what am I doing with my practice. And lo and behold, obviously it happened.
Yep. Yep.
So it's that
But
sort of
again, that self-perception piece, I mean, that, come back to that initial conversation you had with, the dashingly handsome PE teacher
who we
around.
reference in almost every episode.
Exactly. So, that's I think part of, your
Mm.
foundation where, that experience, you have been able to use that to really make some significant gains.
Yeah, I think that's true. So I think that's the first question for anyone who is aspiring to break a particular barrier is, where's your self-perception sit and how do you view yourself in relation to that barrier? And how can shifting that relationship with that barrier actually potentially turn it around and help you? So that's one thing. Are we adding value yet, Andy Walker?
I
Hope
think
so.
so.
Um, the next thing's kind of the reverse of it, and that is we've talked a lot and we've learned a lot about how process goal thinking is so much more effective than outcome goal thinking, and so it's good to probably try and focus on process rather than outcome. But the reality is that the outcome is going to creep in, especially when you get close and you've got that possibility. So how do you deal with staying in the process and resisting the pressure of the outcome overcoming you?
Well, that's really interesting, that you bring that up, because I've found, going through the mental golf type to be extremely, valuable in dealing with staying in the process. And if you look at, sort of that part of the mental golf type, I'm a so, the second letter, either, N, which is intuitive, or S, which is sensing. I'm sensing. So that's, he talks about the line, say, just outside of your, lead foot, and where your focus is it on the other side of the line, in that, are you focused on your target? Are you focused on your ball flight? Or are you focused more within yourself? And whether it be something to do with, a swing key or a swing feel, what the mental golf type says is that if you're a sensing player, 80% of that needs to come from within yourself, and then 20% is on the other side of that line. Whereas the intuitive is the opposite way around, whereas 80% is, the other side of the line, and 20% is within yourself. So for me, coming back to the process of, being a sensing type, having a focus within myself, and for me, it's not so much swing keys, it's more a swing feeling, and having
Mm.
that a really strong feeling, a swing feel, as I'm setting up, has helped me dramatically. And that, if I start thinking about the outcome, I just try and strengthen that picture and that feeling within my mind to bring myself back into the shot process.
So I think the takeaway out of that is actually not necessarily about copying that method, but it's about understanding yourself.
Yes, yeah, for sure, absolutely. And I think, mental golf type, for me, has really sharpened, that understanding of what I should be doing for my mental golf type.
Mm.
Whereas for you, for instance, it would be completely different because you're a different mental golf type to what I
Yeah, it's basically all of the things you do. I need to do the opposite,
am. Exactly, exactly.
which is which is quite interesting because often we'll talk to people that might be we know that is a better golfer than us, or in the same group that someone says, "Hey, I've learnt this thing. You should try it," and it may well not be the slightest bit suitable, and that's exactly why. So it is good to know thyself. I think someone smarter than me may have said that at
Mm.
some point.
Yeah,
That is good. The other thing for mine on that one as well, we talked about a bit before, but that think box, play box element to me has massively helped give a framework to my mental approach to every shot. And the other thing with it that goes take it to the next step, the purpose of it is that every shot must have a plan. Okay. There's no stepping up just to hit it. Oh, I need to hit it over there. And, I just can knock one up there and, deal with it from there. Like even a punch out from the trees, the
mm.
more specific you can get with the type of shot you want to hit, the location that you want it to finish, the place where you want it to land, all of those things, it's actually really important. And it helps commit then to the shot that you're going to hit. The same can be said when you're putting, really committing whatever line that you choose, commit to the line, commit to the speed, and then execute that. And that for me is where I like to use the line on the ball because that's then the line that I'm committing to. And that shows me
Mm.
exactly what I'm committing to when I go and hit that shot. But I think that's the thing. It's like take the time in the think box to actually go, what is the specific shot I want to hit? What does the ball flight look like? What's the landing spot? What's the shot shape? All of those elements, and then commit to go and do that. So you got a clear picture in your mind. I don't know. I find that really works for me. Eliminate the hit and hope. Have a plan, have commitment, try and execute the plan. And I feel that helps keep you in the moment rather
Yeah,
than drifting off to the outcomes and future shots.
yeah, yeah, 100%.
So that's a big one. Um, Having realistic expectations for every shot as well, Andy Walker, I think is an important one. You talked about
Yeah,
that bit before with the four foundations of golf. That's straight out of John Sherman's
yeah,
playbook.
and expectation management is something that historically I've always struggled with. Because I've loved being a good ball striker, and I've worked very hard on my swing to be able to be a good ball striker. And it's extreme. I mean, that whole period when I had the snap hook in play, that was the most excruciatingly frustrating experience because I just didn't know where the ball was going. Fortunately, I've been able to work through that and I'm past that now. But having an appropriate expectation around the fact that, okay, well, I wasn't really practicing that much, so I probably shouldn't expect to hit it that well, and accepting that, it's around expectation and acceptance of the outcome when I do hit a poor shot. That to me has it's increased my enjoyment of the game out of sight,
Mm.
but B, it's been able to allow me to let go of, I guess the anger and the frustration that typically crept into a round of golf.
The other thing that it can do is you're looking at it, you go, all right, I'm 150 out. I've got a 7-iron in my hand. Obviously, want to hit it on the green. I want to hit close. But with realistic expectations, I know the dispersion pattern that I've got with that club. So I know that maybe 40% of the shots I'm going to hit with this club are going to go on the green.
Mm,
Yeah. Or maybe 60%, whatever your dispersion looks like. Where are my likely misses going to be? And therefore, where exactly should I aim? And then I also know if I hit it anywhere on the green, that is a good shot that I should celebrate. And even if I hit it just off, it's in the fringe.
mm.
Um, that's a pretty good shot that I should
Yeah,
actually celebrate rather than beating myself up because either I've missed the green or I didn't get close enough to the pin.
yeah, I agree.
So I think it enables you to celebrate the good ones that, quite often we think maybe are ordinary or not that good, but that for us, for our skill level at that particular point in time is actually a good shot. And that definitely increases your enjoyment of the game where you,
Mm.
where you hit one on. I had that conversation with someone I played a recent game with when they're going, oh, I hit one. I was probably hitting pitching wedge. So I was about 120 meters out, something like 125 out, hit pitching wedge, hit the green. And they went, oh, if you're playing off eight, you're probably disappointed with that shot, wouldn't you? Like you'd want to be getting it close with a wedge in your hand. I'm like, no, it's on the green. I'm actually really happy. I'm putting.
Yep.
It's a good shot. That's what I was
Mm.
trying to do.
Yep.
So,
It's on the dance
and they
floor.
kind of, yeah, and they kind of went, oh, but I can do that too. I'm like, well, then it's a good shot. You should
Yeah,
be happy with that.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
I think there's something in that. The other one, this is massive. This has really taken some learning and some accepting, and that is developing an understanding that every shot that you hit in a round of golf is a unique and independent event, and not one shot in a series of like in a connected sequence of events. So therefore,
Mm,
one shot that you hit has absolutely no bearing on the next one that you're going to hit. That's another independent event that should be approached differently and not with all of the baggage carried on previously.
Yeah, and that's a tough one because when you're especially on a hole where that's effectively you know the perspective that most people have is that it is a sequence of shots and a sequence of events in order to get the end score for that hole, and then you extrapolate that out 18 times. That's a really hard concept to get your head around.
It is because, like what you're saying is true. Yes, the way that the score works is counting up everything in sequence and adding them up at the end. But
Mm,
in the play, and this is the bit that it's hard to get your head around. I agree, but like in the playing of the shot, the only golf shot that you can ever possibly hit in your life is the one that you're hitting right then. You
yeah.
can't hit the one you hit before again,
Yep.
and you can't hit the next one in the future yet. You can only hit that one right there. And the reality of that is that the skill, the ability, the swing, everything that you possess, you are bringing to that shot fresh. The only reason why previous ones will impact on that is if you mentally allow that to happen.
Mm, yep. Well,
I
it's
don't know
the
if I've
whole
explained that perfectly, but
yeah. It's the whole DJ perspective, isn't it? You hit
the
a shot,
goldfish memory,
you hit a shot, go find it,
go
hit
find
it
it, hit it
again.
again. And
Yeah.
you have to think that way. And so that's where the stories that you hear golfers tell themselves all the time, like, oh, I just don't have it today. I've hit three shots. I'm on the third tee. I've
Yeah.
hit a half a dozen golf
Yeah.
shots.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't have it today. Today's gonna be one of those days. It's gonna be tough.
Mm,
Just can't. I can't find the swing. I can't get off the tee box today. Well, that
yeah.
is a narrative that you're choosing to tell yourself about your
Yeah.
golf game for the day, which is not helping.
Yeah. Well, that's Michael Leonard told that story about the recent round he had where he played with someone
Yeah,
on
yeah,
the first green. He horseshoed out of the hole, and then it's not my day today.
yeah.
Just one of those days again. And like, dude,
No, it's a
you're on
putt.
hole one.
It was a putt. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. But that again, that narrative that people start down, that a lot of amateurs start down is very common.
Yeah, and getting out of it is really hard
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
also
And,
it can be quite seductive
mm,
to give yourself the hard luck story so that it
yeah.
can almost mentally eject you out of concentrating on every shot. Like,
Mm,
oh well, just I didn't have a swing today, so what can you do?
yeah.
I was out there for fun after that.
Yeah. But it's a habit I think that people get into, and just having that awareness of that habit, I think is certainly a big step forward. And you can catch yourself out as soon as you start going down that line of, it's just one of those days today, and you're
Mm,
still on hole two or three or four, or even on hole 10.
mm.
You can change it around for the last eight holes if you're on the 10th hole, and you might have been, having one of those days on the greens for the first 10 holes, but that doesn't mean that for the last eight holes you can't turn it around and have a better day.
Well, I mean, you can change the story that you choose to tell yourself as well. Because if you've missed every putt for the first 10 holes, you could, rather than saying, oh, this is one of those days I'm never going to sink anything. So,
Mm.
like I can't putt today. You can change
Yeah,
the story
you're due.
gee, I've been unlucky for the first 10 holes, but I'm due. I'm going to one putt
Yeah,
everything from now because
yeah,
it's got to even out.
yeah, for
So
sure.
depends what story you choose to tell yourself, but
Mm.
every shot is its own event and needs to be given the respect and the process due to that event. That's the message. That's all I've got mental, Andy Walker. Anything else mentally that you want to share before we move on to some physical things?
No, I think my main keys has been, yeah, the expectation management, and acceptance, the mental golf type, and the, the concepts around mental golf type, but also, and I come back to, when we talked about it, a few weeks back around swinging aggressively to conservative targets. That,
Oh,
that
yes,
that
yes,
to
yes,
me
yes.
is huge, which comes down to strategy.
Yeah, course management, strategy, decision making. Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely. All right. So physical, there's a couple of things which are actually really worth calling out. The first thing I think is track your stats. Track your stats. Data is king. Data doesn't lie.
mm,
And what it'll do, I think, for me, the shot scope system that I use, I know Arcos that you're getting into, could not be more effective because it is about knowing exactly how far you hit every club. So you're making better decisions with clubs that you pull out of the bag,
mm,
particularly for approach
mm.
shots, makes the world of difference.
Yeah,
But also, it'll show you where you're losing your shots, where you're gaining your shots, so your strengths, your weaknesses, and exactly what you need to work on, and some of the areas where you've got holes in your game. I just think tracking your stats
yeah.
is massive.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I look at, the way I've traditionally looked at my game, and you talk to Scotty Fisher about my game, and what where he thinks my strengths and weaknesses are. Certainly, historically. And you look at, I'm just looking at my, the breakdown of my strokes gained over the last 15 rounds. My strokes gained against a scratch handicap is minus 5.1, of which minus 2.1 driving, minus 2.1 approach, minus zero point 0.5 short game, minus zero point 0.3 putting. And then, the last 5 rounds, it's my strokes gained is minus 1.7, of which driving is minus 1.7, approach is minus 1.5, short game is plus zero point 0.3, and putting is plus 1.2. If you had said to Scotty Fisher that the strength of my game is my short game and putting,
He would
he
not
would
believe
just
you.
go, no, no
He would
chance.
not believe you. Yeah,
Whereas data doesn't lie,
yeah,
and this is consistently over the last 15 rounds. And even as I've improved my game, and my strokes gained against a scratch handicap, my the strength of my game is short game and putting. And
yeah,
yeah, even saying that blows me away a little bit.
yeah. Track your stats.
Hmm.
The data does not lie, and that's the thing. So many people um, like to think that they know how far they hit a club. To me, this is the most practical part of it, and constantly come up short.
Yeah,
You know, I know that I still come up short, but the reason that I come up short is when I miss hit one.
yeah,
Like I know now that I'm picking the right club for the distance I've got to hit because I know how far my clubs go.
yes,
It won't eliminate all you coming up short, but I've gone from coming up short 50, 60% of the time to, 10% of the time now,
yeah, yeah.
just
And
from
that's
mishits.
and knowing how far you hit it, really how far you hit it, and taking the distance to the mid to the back of the green, that actually allows you to miss hit and still actually get onto the front of the green.
Yeah.
And that to me, having an understanding of that concept is, it's gold. And I think that will, so rather than, you know, believing that you hit it further than what you actually do, miss hitting it and coming up, 20, 30, 40 meters short of the green, you're actually being a lot more realistic, and
Yeah,
understanding your,
absolutely.
your game a lot better, and allowing, and having some of that room for the dispersion, still having a reasonable result at the end.
Yeah, 100%, which is why I wasn't that upset when I smoked a 6 iron over the back of the green on
Mm.
14 on the
Yep.
weekend because it's unusual like that. It might have been a semi flyer because the drop that I
Yep.
had to take was in the rough. Um, no, it wasn't much rough, but it could have been enough to create a little bit of a flyer. Um, but I was taking a number to the back half of the green because of exactly those things. And I hit it a little bit further than I thought I would. And I was over the back of the green. But, um, you know, so many more people you see will constantly come up short and will always look and go, oh, geez, what happened there?
Yeah.
Can't
Yep.
believe that.
Mm.
Must be a bit
Mm.
more windy than it feels. Like, no,
Mm.
no, it isn't. You just don't hit the ball as far as you think you do with that club. So yes, track your stats. The the other one, which kind of a little bit linked, is then trying to improve, and there's a few things with that. Like one is having regular contact with golf, be it hitting balls. High performance center for me in the garage has been a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Cannot agree with you more. And
Yeah,
that's just a very straightforward, simple solution. Doesn't need to cost a lot of money.
yeah,
You don't have to get a launch monitor or a simulator or anything like that. You can just get a practice net, a practice mat, and set it up in a garage. You don't need a lot of room,
yeah.
and
Absolute
that's
game changer.
gold. That's absolute gold.
Yeah. If you don't want to do that, even just shadow swinging the club, even if you're not hitting balls or hitting foam balls in the backyard or, you know, hang a sheet up in the lounge room, whatever. Um, Something along those lines
As
is really, really necessary.
as long as you don't have floorboards.
Just don't take a divot. You'll learn to pick it clean. Um, you'll probably still use a mat.
Mm.
Um, but it's actually it's really really important, and flowing on from that is the obvious ones around getting some coaching and instruction if you possibly can, using some video analysis. There's a bunch of ways around doing that. That's not always easy, and I mean I know in my situation living in regional Australia it's actually not that easy at all.
Mm.
But doing that if you possibly can is useful. We've tinkered around a little bit with the artificial intelligence apps. There's mixed views on that. Um,
Yeah,
I
that's an
would
interesting
suggest
experience.
I would suggest it's a bit of fun more so than anything else. Incidentally, I ran Scotty Scheffler's swing through it.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. How'd that go?
4.8 out of 10, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen. 4.8 out of 10. Number one player in the world at the moment who's almost unbeatable. Doesn't even get a
because
pass mark
I
on the
know
AI tool.
You ran Rambo's swing
Rambo through
through
it.
it,
Yeah.
yeah, not that long ago,
Yeah.
and didn't particularly like that either.
No, he didn't do so well. I think he's about 6 out of
Yeah.
10.
I would yeah, I'd
Matt
like
Wolf
to.
was like 9.5 out of 10.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
Go figure.
Yeah, yeah.
I felt quite good about it because I did one of Scotty Scheffler's and I did one of mine straight after. He got 4.8 out of 10 and I got 9 out of 10.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
Only time I'm going to beat Scotty Scheffler in anything golf related,
Yeah,
I reckon.
yeah, yeah,
But,
yeah.
anyway, I think if you can, get some coaching. Um,
Yeah, look, and a coach as opposed to an AI app, they will look at, the sequence in which you need to make your swing changes. They won't, and this is what I found with AI, that it just gives all information as what you're doing wrong.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
unless you know what to do with that,
Yeah.
you could really confuse yourself big time. So
Oh, yeah.
at least a coach will actually they'll have a bigger picture in mind as to where your swing needs to go, but they will give you little bits of information as to what you need right now,
Yeah.
as opposed to everything. So definitely getting a coaching professional to look at your swing and help you with that process. Yeah, massive benefits.
100%. So that is a big one. The next one, I don't know. I don't know how you feel about this, Andy Walker. I kind of threw it in the list because I think it's probably worth mentioning. It's to practice or try and have an improvement plan for all parts of your game, not
Mm,
not just either focusing on the bits you enjoy or, as a lot of people probably also do, focusing on the weaknesses. But I'm amazed actually. I've been amazed with the high performance center of how much impact and improvement you can generate just by focusing on something for a relatively short amount of time.
Mm. Yeah, and
Um,
that's the deliberate practice as well.
oh yeah,
So rather than going in there and just swinging, having an understanding and say having a full swing including your pre-shot routine, so being very deliberate in the way that you practice, and that sort of comes back to we've talked about the book Talent is Overrated.
mm,
That's that book in a nutshell is deliberate practice.
mm.
And that to me, again, you see so many people at the range just they'll swing a driver and then they'll pull another ball, swing another driver, pull another ball, swing another driver, and you just go, well,
Which is not
yeah,
really practice, to be honest. Like
well,
it's
well,
just
they're
it's
exercising.
recreation. It's
Yeah,
recreation. Yeah,
yeah, that's all it is. So if certainly if your goal is improvement, deliberate practice and having a plan is 100% needs to be. And you're right, having a plan on every aspect of your game. As much as we've talked about the strokes gained approach, that ball striking will give you big wins. That doesn't mean that putting in short game isn't super important. It is.
that's
You
right.
you still need to improve that area of your game, so don't neglect it. And that's
Yeah,
that was my big sort of learning from 30 years ago when all I did was go out and practice on the range and practice my swing. I rarely practiced short game or putting. So yeah, that's I've balanced that out a lot in this latest pilgrimage.
mm. Again, agree with all of that. Um, the next one I think you'll like, Andy Walker. You're now a convert, and that is even if you don't think you need to, if you haven't done so already, go and get a proper fitting for your golf clubs.
Mm.
Get equipment that works for you,
Yep.
not just the stuff that looked like it was on a good deal when you bought it.
Yeah.
I can't stress how big a difference this made. It was far more than I ever thought.
Yeah. I feel as though that's my practice mat uh, for you in that oh, excuse me, I've had the 180 flip flop around
Mm.
because I didn't put a great deal of importance on club fitting. I knew it was important, but I felt as though swing changes were much more important. But yeah, I've now flipped that around, and having the TSR3s has made a massive difference.
Yep. And yeah, get fitted. And it doesn't always mean that you've got to necessarily be getting the newest, most advanced drive or anything like that. But it's important that you've got the specs that suit your game. You've got the right shaft, the right head matchup, and making sure that everything is fitted to you and your needs. On that topic, um, similarly, and a bit of a subset of that is to think about the ball that you play and to make sure that the ball is the right ball
Mm.
for you. Uh, and I got to be honest, I can't be more excited about the change to the Pro V1.
Yep, yep, and I was the same when I moved from the Shrixon to the Titleist. It made so much difference to my game. It was dramatic.
Yep.
So I 100% agree with the ball. It's what you've got to get in the hole. So it
You tend
it's
to
pretty
use it on every shot.
yeah, it's pretty important.
And that's my list, Andy Walker. If you do all those things, you'll be breaking 80 before you know it.
Mm. The other thing, the one thing that I've got in addition to that is actually working on your swing speed. I think, and this is sort of part of,
Mm. That's possibly
uh,
my next frontier, to be honest.
yeah, because you look at, and certainly Mark Brody does go into this in every shot counts, is that those players that hit it further are actually have a huge advantage when it comes to strokes gained. They have a
Mm.
tendency to hit it straighter, which a lot of people don't necessarily equate hitting it longer to hitting it straighter, but the data actually says that the longer drivers hit it straighter, which is
Mm.
quite interesting. So,
Sasho McKenzie talked about that a little bit as well,
yeah,
which I thought
yeah, a
was
couple of
kind
weeks
of
ago, yeah.
counterintuitive, but I got the
Mm.
point when he was explaining it.
Yeah, so I think swing speed training for most golfers, and you don't have to go out and get the stack, or there's a couple of different devices that you can use. There is an app, I believe, which Michael Leonard actually uses, the Tour Tempo app.
Mm,
I think it's Australian. It's about $40 US. I think it's about $25. That's certainly a good tool to use because if you increase the tempo of your swing, obviously you're increasing the swing speed. So yeah, there's a few different methods that you can use, and even just I've heard of people going onto the range and spending a range session just hitting it as hard as they can,
mm,
right? That's also helpful as well in increasing your swing speed. So there's a few different methods that you don't have to buy, the stack or something similar. I mean, look, I love the stack. I think it's a great tool and I highly recommend it, but you don't have to go out and spend the money to increase your speed. There are other, more
mm,
cost-effective methods out there.
mm. It's a very good point that you make. It's not a bad list, I feel.
Mm.
There's a fair bit in there.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I think if you're able to go out and look, it's a reasonable list, and I think that you may not be able to do all of it, and certainly not at once.
Yeah.
But I think, over a period of time, and certainly if you give yourself, say, 12 months, you can work your way through and integrate that into your routine. And plan. I think planning also, we went through that with Josh Nichols in that, planning your practice and planning and scheduling in practice to your weekly or monthly routine certainly goes a long way to getting out there and spending the time that you need to improve your game.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Look, I think I want to hear back from the Pilgrims if any of these tips have been helpful in any way. If there's been any light bulb moments for anyone that has listened this deep into the episode and gone, oh, actually, I think I might give that a go.
Mm,
Or you know what? Any other things that you would add to the list? That would be quite interesting.
mm.
If there's any other sort of epiphanies that you may have had that have helped you improve your game. We're all about pilgrims helping each other in the caravan to deal with the adversity that this game throws at us. So definitely keen to hear about that. So drop us a line on one of the many methods that you can do it, which is obviously on the Facebook page, the Missing Links Golf on Facebook, Missing Links Golf on Insta, PML Golf Show on X. Andy Walker, you could even comment on the YouTube channel
Yes,
at the bottom of this video, probably just down there. Drop a comment in down there,
it's a large finger you have there, Mr. Hicks.
particularly when it's that close to the to the camera.
Mm.
You could do any of those things. You could click on the send us a text message button on the show notes if you wanted to do that. It's another option.
Although we can't reply to that, I believe.
No, but we could talk about it in the next episode.
We can.
Depending on when you're listening to this, because if you know how some people it takes them a year or so to get on it, then we probably would have made the next episode. But anyway, you could. What else could you do? You could send us an email.
Yeah, we've got an email address. You do that.
Yeah, the missing links golf show at gmail.com. Any other ways people could? I don't know that there is. I think that's about it.
Well, I mean, if you see us on the golf course, you could always you know, tap us on the shoulder and have a bit of a chat.
That happens.
I mean, now that we're on YouTube,
Yeah, you might
like
recognize us.
people will actually know what we look like. So, they can look
You
out for
may
us.
recognize us. We have degenerated Andy Walker. This is now the longest episode that we've ever done, I think. We've been at it for a little while tonight, but that's fine. I think it's been a good conversation. We've covered a lot. I hope it helps. That is the purpose. And we absolutely would love to hear back from you on what you think, and if there's anything that we've missed off the list that you think is vitally important that we should add.
100%.
With that said, Andy Walker, anything else?
There's only one thing left to do,
Oh,
which would be
two.
rock out, Pilgrims.
Nice.